So within our COSO Fraud Risk Management Guide, COSO makes it clear that for an internal control system to be effective, each and every one of the 17 principles must be present, functioning, and operating together in an integrated manner. Again, 17 principles from the integrated control framework must be present, functioning, and operating together in an integrated manner. And again, our fraud risk management guide that we're looking at has 5 distinct fraud risk management principles, and we're going to cover each one of these areas, each one of these fraud risk management principles individually. So our first one is in relation to our control environment. And what we're basically talking about is fraud risk governance. Who owns it? How are we supposed to be acting? What documents and things are supposed to be out there in order to help us govern fraud risk, etc. So let's break down each one of these items, and let's start with this first one. So if we look at exactly how COSO has it worded, the organization establishes and communicates a fraud risk management program that demonstrates the expectations of the board of directors and senior management and their commitment to high integrity and ethical values regarding managing fraud risk. So there's a lot going on in this one phrase here. When we talk about the organization, we're talking about the fact that everyone at the organization, from the board of directors to management to internal audit to all levels of staff, everyone has a responsibility for managing fraud risk of the organization. When we talk about establishing a program, it's a very involved process. There needs to be a lot of collaboration regarding the risk that the organization faces, what controls are currently in place, are they functioning properly, what risks are still out there, what types of things do we need to put into place in order to deal with those risks. So there's a lot that goes on in just to establishing our plan of action. Not only do we need to establish it, but we need to communicate. We need to communicate what our program is and what our expectations are. So there's going to be a lot of documentation necessary and training of all of our staff. And really and truly, this is an ongoing process because as we talked about in our introductory video, business is constantly changing. The tools and technologies we use are constantly changing. Therefore, the environment is changing. Therefore, risks are changing. So this is a process continuously needing to be updated. Simultaneously demonstrating commitment and upholding integrity while continuously upholding ethical values. All right, so how management and the board of directors behaves. Are they talking the talk and walking the walk? That's what we need them to do. In regards to talking the talk, you know, sometimes management may put on a big show, say they embrace the fraud risk management program, say they embrace how budgets are put together, but they don't always walk the walk. Prime example of this in regards to ethics and integrity and the environment, Enron had a code of conduct. If we were in class, I would be asking everybody to guess on how many pages the Code of Conduct had. And I would hopefully be able to have somebody say 66, because the Code of Conduct for Enron was a whopping 66 pages. Yeah, they talked the talk, but they definitely did not walk the walk. Hopefully you guys know the difference between ethics and integrity. Ethics is knowing the difference between right and wrong. Integrity is doing the right thing. In regards to our control environment, the control environment and the culture of our organization are crucial to the success of our organization. So not only are we talking about corporate governance, how the oversight is processed by the board of directors and by management, but the control environment and culture also deals with our goals and how we are going to go about meeting those. And what are the fiduciary responsibilities of all the different parties within our organization. We also consider our reporting responsibilities, because we have a lot of organizations, individuals, etc., that we need to report information to. And I'm not talking just about our financial statements, those reports, but also other reporting responsibilities that may come into play due to some type of law or regulation. And when we have certain things or activities that go on at our organization, we've got to timely report conditions and statuses on things based on those laws. So therefore, some of those tie into our legal responsibilities. So are our board of directors and management firmly holding true to what needs to be happening within our control environment? Are they building a good culture, showing not only how they expect us to behave, but also are they doing what they are having others do as well? So they need to be focusing their efforts on these areas. More than ever before, board of directors and management are tasked with increased responsibilities. There is a report out as of early 2018 from Ernst & Young in regards to forensic data analytics. And basically, it was a survey of many C-suite executives around the world. And the report basically goes through and lists all of the concerns that they have, and the fact that the majority of them reported increased risks that must be managed by them. Again, those increased risks tie into the control environment and the culture. It all ties back. So if we were to look at putting together a to-do list in regards to the control environment, what would show up on it? What does management need to do? They first of all need to make sure that they make an organizational commitment to fraud risk management. They should address issues of ethics and the effects of ethical behavior on business, on strategy, on operations, and therefore long-term survival. Ethics considerations and well-directed compliance programs are important foundational components of effective fraud risk management. And we need management to set the tone at the top regarding their commitment to fraud risk management. They should support fraud risk governance. Again, this should really begin with the board of directors. They need to be independent. They need to take their positions on the board very seriously, as they are the ones tasked with oversight of management and making sure that the fraud risk management program is set up and functions properly and effectively. When we establish a comprehensive fraud risk management policy, as we've discussed, it's going to be a very involved thing, and it is going to be a living and breathing, constantly changing type of program. And we're going to see about that as we move through the remaining 4 areas that we're concentrating on. When we establish our fraud risk governance program, we should put together fraud risk governance roles and tie responsibilities to those distinct roles. I want to let you know that you should definitely flip through the appendix section of the COSO Fraud Risk Management Guide, because you will see in the back that they literally have included samples and templates that you guys could use at an organization in designing governance roles. What are the responsibilities, task lists, risk assessment tools, and other items are included within that appendix section. Therefore, when we make a good control environment, we will document the fraud risk management program, again, making use of a lot of things that they have supplied us with in that appendix section. So we need to have policies and procedures, let alone job descriptions with responsibilities tied back to them. We also need for this fraud risk management program to have all types of documents that are quickly and easily accessible. And of course, they should be updated as needed, routinely reviewed, and constantly changing. We will communicate the fraud risk management program to all organizational levels. So it's not just about supplying the documentations regarding the policies and the procedures and the job descriptions and responsibilities, but it's also holding training events enterprise-wide and discussing with employees at regular meetings, but also at regular management meetings and board of director meetings, what we are doing in regards to fraud risk management. Regarding our board of directors and those committees, they need to be certain that the mechanisms are in place and functioning properly in regards to fraud risk management. Are they really receiving accurate and timely information from management, from external auditors, from internal auditors? Are they getting information from employees? Is there a tip line in place? Is it working like it should be? It's all part of the control environment. And what we're going for is deterring, preventing, and detecting fraud. Now, of course, we want to try to deter as much as possible. And when we deter, what we are basically trying to do is create an environment in which potential fraudsters are discouraged or deterred from committing fraudulent acts. A lot of deterrence boils down to the things we do within our control environment when we assess risk. People know when we're assessing risk that we are looking. And when we put those internal controls into play and they're functioning, we are deterring fraud because people know why we're putting them into place. So we need to do everything that we can to deter fraud. Speak to these things. We need it to be as visible as possible, because increasing the perception that the organization is on high alert will do a great bit of work in deterring fraud. In regards to prevention, we know that to prevent, we are creating and maintaining an environment in which the committing of fraudulent acts are minimized or even eliminated. We know that we need to be proactive. Internal controls need to be in place and operating as designed. But we can do more today than we could years ago because of increases in technology, in knowledge, just like in the things that you guys are going to learn in this class, seeing how people perpetrate frauds and what are the red flags and how can you do a better job at assessing risk. You're going to be more skeptical after seeing and hearing and therefore knowing about past experiences. Lastly, in regards to detection, again, we've got a lot going on as far as technology goes, and therefore the faster we discover or detect fraud, the faster we can take care of it and the less the organization will lose because we can thwart it earlier. So discovery, preferably very timely, of the existence or occurrence of fraud, the faster we can take care of it, the better off our organization will be. Something to think about in regards to fraud, deterrence, prevention, and detection. Remember that I've told you this. Desperate people do desperate things, and people are crafty. As you guys will see within that report to the nations, 2 or more people getting together, thwarting internal controls, circumventing those internal controls, and perpetrating a fraud is referred to as collusion. In the 2018 reports to the nation, almost half of the cases involved 2 or more people.